Hi, this is Sarah the Stitchin' Mommy, and this will be a demonstration, I guess, of how I organize my stash and how I plan for the various, weeks and stitch-alongs and challenges and rotations. I have only started to plan since I've been doing Flosstube, so a little over a year. But I thought I would show you how that process started, in case any of you were in the same boat that I am, and you haven't organized or planned anything before, and you kind of don't know where to start. So I'm not an expert at this. There's so many more people on Flosstube who plan more than I do, more detailed. But if you want somewhere to start, this is kind of what I've been doing. So this box is a large paper box that is where it all started. I've had this box since high school, I think, and I've kept my cross stitch in it from the time I really started to get into stitching. And I've carried it with me from dorm room to dorm room to into married life, into the different houses we've lived in, and it's still going strong. It no longer houses all of my cross stitch stuff, but it still houses a lot. You'll see here in the front I have mirabilias, and this is on a little shelf, so I'll tip it forward for you. Some of these have the beads that are stored in the bag with the chart. Some of these, if they're not started yet, let's see, where's one? I'll sometimes put the chart and the fabric in the same bag so that I know what I want to use it for, so it's kind of kitted up. In this same box I have some like little kits that are either done or not done. Some of my stuff I've kept even if it's finished, but there's things back here that are just various kits and flyers. Most of this is kits. Some of them are started, some of them are not. And some of them are finished, and I've just kept the kit because I couldn't bear to get rid of it. And then next door is like my floss. I used to keep all of these bobbin boxes full of floss, and now I have a double-sided floss organizer, which I will show you later because I keep it by my chair. But I have things like, here's my Victorian motto. Here is like DMC, variegated, and some left extra whisper, and I have a needle case in there too with extra needles. This is kind of how I keep my beads. These are all my Mill Hills in numerical order, and my satin and Krynic is all in there. And then those back there is like, I think it's some random like tea towels and things to cross stitch on that I was given. So I just kind of put them back there because I'm not sure when I'll use them or what for. And then I keep extra DMC in these shoe boxes. I have 2 of them, and in each shoe box there's half of the set, and I have labeled the number range of the extra DMC so that when I am running out of a color in my bobbin box, I know where to go. And I have, since I used to keep all my duplicates in my multiple, like 6 floss boxes, I still have some on bobbins in here that I'm not keeping any duplicates in my double-sided box because there's not enough room for more than one of each color. So any duplicates that were already bobbinated, and then all the regular ones are all in here. So that's kind of how I keep that. I have a few extra random little ones, for small projects that I may use at some point. And then the next shelf up, I guess I'll just show you, is all my charts and leaflets and books. I have some of my newer things here in the front. Like here's my Teresa Wentzler dragon, my Midsummer Roses, things I'm working on right now or have recently acquired. Here's a Sew to Stitch. But most of this stuff is older books and leaflets and magazines that I've either acquired over the years or have been given over the years. So there's a boatload of that. Now I will show you a few more things that I have in another section of my craft closet. So this is kind of where things expanded to when I got too big for my box. I have like just a big shopping bag here that has some more kits in it that have been started. I think there might be a couple in here that are not started yet. But those are older kits that I hopefully will get back to at some point. And back there I have some extra fabric that just from the stores in the tubes. This is a fun tote I received really cheaply at one point from a clothing company. But in here I keep my binders with my full coverage pieces. I usually have multiple, here, I'll bring this out to show you. I usually have multiple pieces per binder. So this one has these two patterns in it. And I have a tabs at the top for each row of pages so that I can know, where to go for my next row. And then I have a big tab to go to the next pattern. So this only has two in it because they're both really big. I do have a couple more binders of full coverage pieces because I just have way too many of those. But those are kept at my stitching spot. So let me put this away real fast. And under here is another little paper box that I've gotten more recently where I keep extra fabric as well. So here is where I keep my actual pieces, and some of them are really tall. If you've noticed in my box, there's my kitty. The box I showed you, the box like with all the mirabilias, it has mainly just patterns and unfinished folded fabric. This is where I keep my whips for the most part. There's a few that you saw that are still with the kit that they came in, and I keep them in the bag with the kit, but most of the other ones are here. So I made this box. This is like some Amazon boxes like taped together, so it's really just a homemade solution. Excuse me, kitty. But I've got like the shorter whips are here in the front pocket, and then my big whips are in the back pocket. And I keep them rolled up because that's how I stitch. I stitch in hand with most of the fabric in a roll. So it's nice to just store them in a roll as well. A lot of these are from, leftover packages that would have come in the craft store. Some of them are the softer packaging, some of them are harder packaging, tube packaging. I've also got like homemade ones. This one is like the thin card, like, I don't know what kind of paper that came inside of a wrapping paper tube. I've got thicker wrapping paper tubes. These ones here are empty still, so I'm keeping them for future whips, but hopefully I'll start finishing things and can recycle some of the ones I've already got. So that's my storage solution, and as you see, there's a few here on the side that have outgrown my box. I have too many. I need to start finishing stuff. Alright, let me show you my Stitchy Spots storage box, and then I'll get to showing how I plan and kind of where things have gone from here. Alright, this is a box, a wooden box I got like at Michael's maybe, or somewhere like that. Maybe someplace like Ross. I'm not really sure, but I keep this behind my stitching spot. This is my chair that you'll see in my films, in my update videos, and so I keep this wooden box back here. I have a few whips that I've finished but I'm not currently working on, but I want to save out here until later in the month or until my next update video. I have here at the back are some more binders with full coverage pieces that are like more recent things I'm working on. Here's a few more charts that I am like more frequently accessing, I guess. I've also got like Bible devotional stuff, and these are like adult coloring books. Oh, there's a big dot to dot book and it's in French. Some coloring books. Where's an actual coloring book? There's some. And so I have like some of that stuff too. And a few fancy flosses like for my chatelaine and things that I haven't put away. And my Kindle in there too. So this is kind of stuff I have here that's easy to access and it's more frequently used things. So those full coverage binders will get rotated depending on what I'm working on. And some of these charts will get rotated too. And then the rolls that are kind of sitting here or sitting back there will get rotated depending on what I'm currently working on. And also over here in the front, right next to my chair where I can grab it easily when I'm stitching, is my double-sided floss box. So this is where I keep my entire DMC line. So half of it is on one side. It's all numerically organized. And the other half is on the other side. And I have, these are some of the newer flosses, not the absolute newest, I don't have those yet, but the ones that came out like a couple years ago are right here, along with some new bobbins. So I keep those right by my chair and I can take it with me upstairs, in the other room, even in the car on occasion. Usually travel projects get a smaller spot. These are some of my my other fancy floss that I have. I have General Arts in these ones. This is Color and Cotton. This is Weeks. And then I have some more that have been given to me that I will be bobbinating. There's a few more in here too, but I'll be bobbinating those eventually and then organizing them. And if I need to expand, I'll get a full-size floss box for all of my fancy floss. That's in addition to Victorian Motto, which has its own box. So that's the rest of my floss storage. And right here is where I keep this little guy. And I will show you, maybe this is my planner, but I think I'll show you my spreadsheets first, because that's kind of where I first started. So let's move over to my computer. Okay, so when I first started considering organizing my whips and coming up with a rotation, because I wanted to participate in making Flosstube videos, and even just doing things on Instagram, like I had heard about Stitchmania and I heard about people's rotations, so it sounded interesting. It's not something that I had ever done before. Previously, I had just gone to my box and thought, okay, what do I want to work on? And so sometimes things would get forgotten because it would just stay in there and I wouldn't see it, or you know, whatever. So I figured the first course of action would be to make a list of what I had. So that seemed to be the logical place to start. So if you have never organized anything and you have a good amount of whips, even part of me also wanted to just number them because I was curious, how many do I really have? So first off, I went through my box, I went through the tote bags, I went through my little pocket of rolled up whips and just made sure I got everything. And I made a list. And I have a Windows computer, so I'm using Excel. You can use whatever spreadsheet you want. There's even Google Sheets you can use on the internet. But this is in Excel, and I have different categories. I have the brand it's from, the title of the project, the designer. I've kind of come up with a few categories. I put down what fabric I'm using, the type of stitching, like 2/2 full crosses, things like that. Some of them I've included a stitch count, total stitches, and some dimensions to maybe eventually I might try like counting how much I've finished and see what percentage I have left, but I haven't gotten that far yet. And then any notes that I wanted to remind myself of. Like this, I'm completing this one page by page in rows. But this one, let's see, there's another one that's, some of them might be different, like completing pages in columns. So there's, if I'm doing it a different way of stitching, I wanted to keep a note. So this is kind of the main what do you call it? Spreadsheet. And for some reason I have different font sizes in here, so I'm gonna have to go in and update this. But I have I don't think I've updated this for the recent Stitch Mania, so this is not accurate, but currently I have 44 whips, because this title is on the first line. So I think I have more now because I made 4 new starts in Stitch Mania. So I also have along the bottom, there's a bunch of these tabs. I went through and wrote down, I think that's why these are different. These are some of this spreadsheet had a 10 font, and then this tab had an 11 font, and I was cutting and pasting. So that's why. See, here's Quick Stitch, Anne of Green Gables. I started this in Stitch Mania. So I would go and cut it out of this tab and stick it over here. And now it's over here in my whip section. And then I can delete this row. This is not an Excel tutorial, so if you don't know how to do what I'm doing, I'm sure there are other tutorials out there for you. This is another one that I could move over here, Mini Princess of the Sea. I just started that yesterday. What else did I start for Stitch Mania? Touchdown. I finished this. Or started this, sorry. And then, what else did I start? Stargazer. So those were the 4 new starts that I had. So now they're on my whip list, and I have 48 starts, or 48 whips. If I have something finished, I will cut it off of this spreadsheet and move it over to the finished section, and this is only as of February 2017, which is probably the first finish I have had since I started making Flosstube videos, because before that I never really kept track of anything. I have pictures on my computer with dates of, so when I have my whip parade and my finish parade on my video, on my channel, which you could go look for, I know roughly what month I finished things, most things, because I have a picture ever since I got my digital camera that's dated. So you kind of know when those things were finished. If they were finished back when things were only, when I didn't have a digital camera, I was guessing. So those might, the range on those finish dates might be more broad, like maybe one of these years, not even necessarily what year it was, like if it was back in my junior high school days. But as of Flosstube, I figured I could start keeping track of my finishes. So I've had 10 finishes since Flosstube. Some big, like Royal Holiday and the National Parks, and some little, like a teacher's job that I did for my daughter's preschool teacher. So there's a variety here. This is a full coverage Haid that I did that was a small one. So there's the finishes. And then I have all these other tabs that I've been using for, or like planning the different SALs that I want to participate in and the different challenges and things like that. So the first one I have here is full coverage, and I made this to go with the full coverage Fanatics challenges this year. So all of these columns were the different challenges. Winter was a quarterly one, Air was a quarterly one, Fantasy, Gray, Flowers, Pink. I think I had like Fantasy and Gray were the same month, Flowers and Pink were the same month, Leaves and Green were the same month. Then there were 2 more quarterlies. And I just went through all of my current full coverage pieces and marked what they qualified for. So for example, the stitching shelf qualified for a lot of things. So then when I went to list, like pick things, then I would highlight which ones I was choosing them for, and to make sure that I covered all of my whips. And so I was using highlighting and different things to try to keep it organized to make sure all of my whips got chosen for something. And this is not what I ended up going with. I think I changed it since I did this. But that's the beauty of planning, is you can do it one way, and then if something comes up and you want to change it, you can change it. I've also created whip photos. So this is also not current, like I have a few more starts since then, but so what I'll do, these are alphabetical with a picture that I just found on the internet to go along with each whip, so that I can see at a glance what I have started, because as you've seen in my boxes and my rolls, it's kind of hard to tell what I've got going at a glance. So this is kind of a fun way to see a picture of everything that I've actually started. So if I'm looking through like the Olympic stitch along, I can see something that's red and black. And then I can look through here and does anything red and black catch my eye? She's got a red dress and a black background. This has a lot of red and I'm stitching mine on a black fabric, so that one could work. You know, there's different things that I can kind of look through and see, would this fit this theme? And so now I need to go through and add those 4 whips that I just started to this list where they belong in alphabetical order. So I'll do that later, but that's kind of a fun way to keep track of things. And if I finish something, I'll just take it off of here to try to keep this current. And then every once in a while, I could maybe print it out and put it by my stitchy spot in case I want something closer at a glance to kind of look at. Come on up, kitty. She's eyeing my lap jealously. All right, so the next tab I have here is for the Full Coverage Fanatics. What do you say? 4 Full Coverage Fanatic cells? I don't remember. I changed. Oh, please don't bonk my camera, kitty. You can sit on my lap. This side over here is what I did at first. And I created a little chart with the month, a quarterly sal, a monthly sal, what I wanted to work on the weekend, which fancy lady I wanted, and then a couple regular pieces for every month. And I had notes like this month was the Olympics challenge, and this is how I used this chart. Was I would pick which one I wanted for these months, and then when I picked it, I would highlight it here and make sure that I got everything at least once plugged in throughout the year. Since then, I have, and I noted down here that I had 24 full coverage spots, which leaves, I have 20 whips, I think, in full coverage, and at least I did. I think I have 22 now. So that would leave only 1 week per whip with just a couple of duplicates. So later in the year, I came over here and like around March, or February or March, I think, I decided to redo my plan, and I have, yeah, I think it must have been March. I've changed to Fancy Lady Priority, Fancy Lady Fun, kind of having a few more priority pieces thrown in here instead of just, and when I think I added, yeah, an extra full coverage. So I took out one of these regular piece chunks and changed it to a full coverage priority, so that I would have 3 full coverage spots per month, and change that to 36 so that I could actually get to everything in this year. So so I went through and changed things, and in order to accomplish that, I had to make a few other tabs. This is one 2018 whips. I don't think is the one I used. Let's see. This is one I used. 2018 ideas. I went through wrote down my full coverage pieces alphabetically, and then I prioritized them to kind of like which one do I want to get finished sooner than later, based on if they're little or if they're for somebody else, or if they could decorate my home versus if they're just for fun. So, and same with my regular ones, alphabetical, and then the order I would kind of like to work on them. And so that would help me when in this, when I was picking things for priorities over here, to know, well, if I've finished something, or if I am looking for a new priority piece, I can go over here and see what's next. What should I be working on next? And I did the same thing for my Fancy Ladies too. Alphabetical and then priority. Snow Queen I'm making for my daughter, and everything else was just based on how well I liked it at the time. I don't come in here and update this all that often, so some things are a little dated, like, but that's kind of the way it goes. Like, sometimes I feel like planning and I'll spend a day or two, you know, fritzing around in my Excel sheet, but really I prefer to spend my time stitching. So I'll get these planning bugs, and then I'll go to town and work out an idea, and then I'll just leave it for several months until I get a new bug that I want to change or try. I had this thing over here even for 2019 ideas, where I may want to go, like, just testing different rotation ideas, I guess. So I had my list of full coverage priorities. I have like the lavender and lace Celtic lady sampler I want to try to get to every month. Some cross kits that I want to start throughout the year. So there's just different things that I was playing with. This is a work in progress. I haven't messed with this for a while. It's probably going to change, but I had a tab open for that. Over here was the Olympics Sal, which is over now, but this is kind of how I did it, and this is probably what I'm going to do for the upcoming, well, actually no. The upcoming FIFA Sal, I just used this. I didn't actually make an Excel sheet for that one. But for the Olympics one, there were so many days and details about the theme. So I wrote in the date, and then I wrote in the theme along with whatever details they included. And then I went and picked my pieces, and what I have along here on the side, these were the 6 pieces that I wanted to work on in February based on my goals and what I had planned. So what I did, what are these numbers? I think the numbers mean these are the days that I had picked them in the Olympic Sal, and then these are the days outside of the Sal that I wanted to make sure they got time. So that everything, like this would get a total of 5 days, total of 3 days. So that's, I think, what those numbers mean, but just little things to keep track of everything in my head. And then once I have this sorted, I will go to my little planner that I keep by my chair. And let's find my page for February to show you. And I have in my planner the, I wrote in the themes, and then up at the top I wrote which project I had chosen for that day, so that at a glance from my stitchy spot I could see what I had chosen and which days I would work on what. And that worked really well. And so going forward, most months it looks more like this, where I have several days on each project. That was March. And here's my June that I put in for FIFA. The FIFA Sal starts right here, World Cup, and ends right here. I may change this again, which is why I always write this in pencil. Because if plans change, if I decide I want to update something, then I can always just erase it and fix it. For example, recently I decided I think I want to work on the pieces that I'm stitching with, the pieces I am stitching for my children. I was thinking of maybe working on them on their corresponding day, the day of the month that corresponds with their birthday, every month, so that they would at least get their project worked on one day a month. And I got that idea from Lisa S. Stitches in the UK. She has a few pieces that she does that every month, that she's either working on them with a friend, or she's just chosen a day that she wants to work on them. And that day, every month, she works on something. And it's kind of a ongoing, fun way to see progress on something. So I may update June to reflect that, to be able to work on the 3 pieces I'm working on for my kids. So that might change. But that's why I always use pencil in my little planner, and Excel is easy to change and update as well. And I have one more tab here. This is my Year of Whips tab. I have 15 chosen pieces, and I recently resorted this so that the finishes were all at the top rather than alphabetical. I had it all alphabetical before, so I could just see at a glance which ones I have left. And I need to get half of them finished before the end of the year, I think December 18th. So maybe 8 of them finished, so 3 more. So that's not bad. I guess that one, 4 more. 7.5 is, 15, so I need to get 4 more done. So we'll see. I know Storytime Sampler will likely be finished. Snow Queen, I'm hoping will get finished. And maybe the Christmas wreath. Oh, and my castle. So there you go. So even if some of these full coverage pieces don't get as much work on them as I'd want, I hopefully will still make half. So that's kind of my plan. What I do. So yeah, recently I've thought about working on my kids' things. So that's a new thing I'll probably be plugging in on the months that it works out that way. There might be other challenges that I feel like working on, and so I might make a new tab for them and kind of play around with new ideas. And every once in a while I feel like being monogamous, and every once in a while I feel like working on a little bit of everything all at once. And so I kind of change how I feel. But these spreadsheets kind of help me organize everything, and then I keep my little penciled in one that I got from the dollar store. I keep that by my chair. So that's how I plan. There are a lot of people on Flosstube who like to count stitches, who like to keep track of percent completed and how many days it takes them to stitch on things. I have so far not tracked any of that. I don't track how many days I work on stuff. I don't keep track of that. I don't keep track of my stitches. Or how long it takes me to do things. So in general, those are more advanced organizing and planning things, and if those things appeal to you, that is really fun. There's some spreadsheets that Brian Blitzstitch has put together for people to use that you're welcome to go check out some of his organization videos. I might link the video that has his spreadsheets and planning, because that was kind of fun. So if that more advanced stuff appeals to you, you can go farther. But I figured this type of video could show you what you could do from a very beginning, thing, and then you can springboard off of that if you want to do more. So basically all I do is I've recorded what I have, and then I can use that a little bit more easily to plug things into challenges and rotations, because I can see things at a glance. So having my photo page and my whips page, these are my two that I can look at to kind of see what have I got, and if I want to sort things by category, I do this page, because then I can sort them by full coverage and I can see all my full coverage at once, things like that. So, or all of my Mirabilias. So these charts help me in whatever I'm currently feeling like planning. So it is something that comes and goes and gets changed, but that's kind of the fun of it. And I hope this video is helpful. If you have any other questions, feel free to ask. And I hope to see you next week with an update video. Talk to you later. Happy stitching.